What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to continue doing some data logs as my tuner Pat G from Victoria has sent me over some new tunes so that we can finally optimize and get this car at 100% with the new Rotofab. If you guys haven't watched last video I uploaded, we actually installed the new Rotofab intake. You can see that I'll probably leave something in the little card or something, but you can definitely see that video. And the new intake has a lot more airflow, and therefore we need to get a new calibration or a new tune. And besides getting an update for the Rotofab intake, we also got a chance to do a little tweaking to try to help this car be a little more optimized, especially at the track. One of the things that Pat G did is go ahead and kind of eliminate the long-term fuel trims, which basically add fuel or pull fuel away no matter what condition you're in. Those are pretty bad. You usually want to keep your car dialed in with just short-term fuel trim, especially when you're going wide open throttle with a few mods. So we've got that cleared away. We've also raised the rev limiter just a bit to see if that'll help me at the track. Remember I talked to you guys in earlier videos about how the transmission felt like it was maybe cutting power or something at the beginning, and so the logs don't appear that I was real near the red limiter, but we've gone ahead and shifted those up just to kind of eliminate that from being an issue. Again, the trans is still stock, so the shift point should be all the same. And we've also adjusted the timing tables for my slightly higher intake temps when we're staging and trying to take off, to help eliminate some of the power loss from the very beginning of the run. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna load that tune up and then we'll go for a drive. We are loading up the new calibration, and now after we do this, we'll be able to go ahead and get in our data logger and just go drive around like we did in the last video. Just get as much data as we can at different throttle positions, going wide open throttle, doing all that, so that we can get something done. Alright guys, so we've loaded up the tune. Now we got to go in here and reset our long-term fuel trims, since we're not going to be using those anymore. So what we want to do is hold the power and turn the car on. Okay, then we're going to go to vehicle and we're going to actually try to connect, and it's going to look up everything that we've got. So we've got all the information correct. We go to vehicle controls, and then in the vehicle controls and special functions tab we can go to fuel, and there's this button right here called long-term fuel trim reset, LTFT reset. We press that and we are good to go. That's reset everything. Now we can close that out. Now we can go ahead and turn the car off, and then go ahead and start scanning and turn the car on. Okay, so we've got the car running, and you can see we are in closed loop form now with our fuel status, so we should be seeing the short-term fuel trims doing what they've got to do. And so now these should be as close to zero as possible, the short-term fuel trims, and we shouldn't have any more numbers here in the long terms because we're not activating long-term fuel trim. So that's a big change that we've done. Now we've got to go just drive around and get some data logs. So the one thing I'm always keeping an eye on is my wideband gauge. Now when you're just cruising, guys, not going wide open throttle, that gauge should be reading anywhere between 14, as close to 14.7 as possible. This is actually calibrated using the gas stoichiometric value, which means that it's gonna read 14.7 whether you have E85 or you have the actual 93 unleaded premium fuel. And like you see here, you want it to bounce between right at and be as close to 14.7 as possible. So as you can see, the car tries to adjust the fuel trims using short-term fuel trims to get it to 14.7. Now if your fuel and air mixture tables are off slightly, then it can be difficult for the car to get there, and that is why you data log, so that you can go back, look at the logs, and then kind of get that adjusted in the base fueling and base air maps and all that. So everything's looking good. We're gonna try to get our IETs down and then see how this car does. Alright, so we're gonna turn our traction control off to make sure that we don't have anything that's gonna cut our data logs, and we'll go ahead and give it a little bit of gas right now and see how it does. Alright, so let's go ahead and floor it. Okay. So just giving it some gas. Basically want to run the car through all its different type of scenarios, different throttle positions. You basically want to get as much different data points as you can. So that felt pretty good, and you notice that this is maxing out, and that's because the car, whenever you let off the gas, is actually cutting fuel and giving you negative timing. And with negative timing, you're gonna get the air fuel mixture going pretty high. And I guess the LS9 wideband sensor is so sensitive that it'll pick up that massive swing. So here we're at a stoplight, and we'll actually, I had it in track mode. Let me go ahead and make that go to sport so it can be louder and really let the car breathe through the direct open pipe. Again, all these are things you want to do. You want to try different modes. You want to try all kinds of stuff when data logging. So let's go ahead and get it and see how it works. Okay, we're gonna do another pull here from about 40. Let's go. Okay, so we were able to go through one full gear there. The car almost cut me off, but it's okay. So looks like the car needs definitely can use some adjustments, and the wideband when full throttle should be as close to 13.0 as possible for naturally aspirated cars. So that's kind of what we shoot for when we're running these cars, is to get the wideband fueling to be as close to 13.0 as possible. That's the best place to have it at. Now, one of the best things about having the dual mode exhaust, guys, is that you can make it very quiet, which I'm gonna do because the car is stupid loud, and when you're out testing, you don't want to be, you know, grabbing a lot of attention. So keeping it quiet is probably the best way to go. So I didn't get a chance to really see where my air and fuel ratio is, but of course the data logger will grab all that information. So that's the best part about having your own HP tuners as well, is that you can log as much as you want and always see if something's going well or something's not doing right. All right, so far I feel like it's doing pretty well. Definitely not having the long-term fuel trims did affect and adjust the car, so I'm sure we'll be able to get some good adjustments from Pat G to our base maps. But overall, car definitely is going in the right direction. The short-term fuel trims really only go up, you can only adjust up to 25%, I believe. And then after that, the long-term fuel trims have to kind of step in. Ideally, you want this to be dialed in perfectly, and the short-term fuel trims to be no more than maybe between 5 and 10% in either direction. So I think we're, while cruising, actually doing really good at almost 1 to 5, just kind of fluctuating. So that's a really good thing. All right, let's go do one more wide open throttle here from a 60. As you guys saw, my wideband shot and was dead straight, pretty much stayed at 13.0, which is where we want this to be at for the most efficient, most power that you can get safely on this car. So I'm pretty happy. I'm actually really happy with the way the car's performing. I'm gonna go back home and, you know, get the logs, look them over myself. Gotten kind of a good idea of what to expect, and then I'll actually end up sending it to Pat G, who will look it over, see where we can improve, and get me some better results. So let's go ahead and get home and check the logs and then send over the information to get yet another better refined tune. Well guys, there we have it. We're back home, and as you guys saw in the log, the car is actually running really well. There's probably a few little minor tweaks that we're going to be able to do, or that Pat G is going to be able to do, but I am very impressed. I'm very happy with this car, and can't wait to get it back on the track. I think it's going to do a lot better once we get it to the track this time. That Rotofab intake, one thing I've noticed is my intake temps when the car is cruising, even without wide open throttle, are pretty much dead ambient temperature, whereas with the stock, my temperatures were almost up 2, 3, 4 degrees above ambient while driving around. I think I'm going to be able to actually cool down my intake temps a lot sooner than when we were running it with the stock airbox. If you guys recall, we were running at almost 130 to 140 degrees of the intake temps at the light, waiting to take off at the beginning of the runs. So, and the temps actually wouldn't dive down or go down to close to ambient until I was on the back half after the 1/8 mile. So I know I was losing a lot of power in that first 1/8. The tune is actually set up to pull timing, start pulling timing after 111 degrees, 120 degrees actually now. So we've actually adjusted that a little bit, like I mentioned earlier. So now the car is not going to pull timing until about 120 degrees, and it's going to pull 1 degree, and then at 130 and up it'll start pulling 2, and so forth, the hotter it gets. The problem is, if we're running 130 from the takeoff, that's 2 degrees of timing that's getting pulled from the get-go, losing power off the line. But if my intake can reduce the temperatures quickly, I can gain that power back sooner and get a much better time at the track. So should be interesting to see how it does now with those small tweaks and the Rotofab intake. Unfortunately, the weather here in Houston is not looking too well. I wanted to go to the track on Friday, and I hope I can still go on Friday, but if it's raining, well, obviously you can't go to the track. So anyways guys, I hope you guys found some of the information here very informative. I tried to give you guys little explanations of here and this, what we're looking for, what we're not looking for, things that you might need to be looking out for. So if you liked this video and enjoyed the information, please give me a big thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Make sure you comment down below. Let me know, did you learn something new from this video? Is there something that you didn't know that now you've got a little better understanding of? Also, comment down below what you think this car will run at the track next time. The fastest it's gone is an 11.9 at 118. My goal is to be able to run 120 miles an hour and hopefully do a little better than 11.9. So comment down below the times that you guys think. But anyways guys, if you haven't, also make sure that you go to my Teespring store and grab yourself a t-shirt. Really help me out and support the channel so I can do a lot of more fun stuff and give away some more cool things. Anyways guys, I'll see you guys in the next video.